The year was quiet, or at least it looked quiet from Earth. Humanity thought it had time. The sky was calm, the cities alive with light, and no one imagined how quickly everything could change. But in the deep silence of space, far beyond the planets people knew, something was moving. Something was watching. The first signal came without warning. At first, scientists believed it was just noise. A strange pulse, a repeating rhythm, caught by long-range satellites. But then the pulses grew stronger. The rhythm carried patterns. Shapes. It was not random. It was someone calling. Or maybe it was someone warning. Governments tried to hide it. They thought the public was not ready. For months, leaders and generals sat in secret meetings, arguing about what to do. Some said it was only a new star phenomenon. Others whispered that it was something else, something alive. And then one night, without any announcement, the stars themselves seemed to answer. A dark shadow slid across the sky. Not a meteor, not a satellite. Too big, too fast. It was not falling. It was moving with purpose. People in cities pointed up with fear. Phones recorded shaky lights as something passed above the clouds. And when the world woke the next morning, the news was already everywhere. They were here. The first ships did not attack. They only watched. They stood above the atmosphere, silent and massive, like mountains hanging in the dark. Their size was beyond anything human eyes had seen. Some were longer than cities. Their hulls reflected no light. They looked like shadows carved into the night sky. The fear spread faster than truth. Rumors filled every corner of the world. Some said they came to invade. Others said they were explorers. Some even prayed to them, believing gods had returned. But no message came. No sound. No warning. Only silence. And then, the silence broke. A single ship descended over the Pacific Ocean. The water below rose in massive waves as the alien craft hovered. Its surface opened like the petals of a flower, and from its core, a deep sound echoed, low, heavy, shaking the air for miles. Cities on the coast felt the tremor. People dropped to the ground, covering their ears. It was not words. It was something older, something not meant for humans to understand. But humanity understood one thing. It was not peace. The first strike came fast. Islands disappeared under blasts of white light. Entire coastlines burned. Panic exploded. Governments screamed for order, but order was already gone. Humanity was facing something it had never seen, an enemy beyond reason, beyond negotiation. And yet, not everything was lost. Far beneath the surface of Earth, in hidden bases where most people never knew, plans had already been made. 4 years, humanity had prepared for the possibility. They had built ships of their own, not as large as the alien giants, but strong, fast, and armed with weapons never before revealed. The public had never seen them. They were hidden under oceans, inside mountains, buried in deserts. Warships created in silence, born from fear that one day, the stars might not be friendly. That day had come. The first human warship rose from the Atlantic Ocean. Its hull broke the surface in a roar of water, engines glowing like suns. The world watched live as the ship climbed into the sky, its body sharp, black, and built for war. Its name was Vanguard. Humanity's first true weapon against the unknown. The alien ship turned, sensing movement. For the first time, the shadows above Earth shifted. Lights along its surface glowed red, like 1,000 burning eyes. The Vanguard did not slow. It charged upward, its voice a scream of engines, daring the darkness to respond. And humanity held its breath. Would this be the end? Or was this the beginning of something no one had seen coming? In that moment, as the first human warship faced the sky full of alien giants, the world understood one truth. Humanity was no longer weak, no longer silent, no longer small. The war for the skies had begun. The world did not sleep after the rise of the Vanguard. Every screen, every radio, every voice carried only one question. Could humanity fight the giants above? For years, people had looked at the stars with wonder. Now, they looked with fear. The night sky was not empty anymore. It was crowded with predators. The alien ships hung silent, as if studying the new challenger. The Vanguard climbed higher, its steel body glowing against the atmosphere. Pilots inside sat stiff, hands tight on controls. They were the first humans to face an enemy not born of Earth. Their voices were calm, but their eyes told the truth, fear mixed with fire. The order came across their headsets, engage only if engaged. Do not fire first. The leaders on Earth still hoped for a miracle, still prayed the invaders might turn away. But the aliens had no such thought. The first beam of light tore across the sky. It moved faster than sound, slicing through clouds. It was aimed at the Vanguard. The ship spun, engines screaming, dodging death by seconds. The ocean below boiled as the blast struck water. Millions of eyes on Earth gasped. The war had started. The Vanguard answered. Panels along its sides opened, revealing long rows of cannons glowing with blue light. Energy surged, and then a single shot fired upward. It struck the alien hull with thunder. For the first time, the giants were not untouchable. The alien ship rocked. Its shadow flickered. Hope lit in human hearts. But the enemy was far from wounded. The alien vessel released smaller crafts, sharp and fast, like shards of glass breaking from stone. They swarmed, hundreds of them, moving like insects around the massive mothership. Each one carried weapons powerful enough to cut through steel. The Vanguard was outnumbered. Its crew worked without pause, firing, dodging, weaving between streaks of light. The sky became a storm. Explosions lit the night, glowing clouds floating like fire in the heavens. On the ground, people cheered when alien crafts fell burning into the sea. They screamed when human fire missed and cities shook from the impact. But humanity was not foolish. The Vanguard was not alone. Across the globe, more warships began to rise. One from the deserts of Africa, its body painted in sand-colored armor. Another from beneath the Arctic ice, glowing white like a ghost in the frozen night. From mountains, from oceans, from hidden cradles of steel, humanity's secret children awakened. They had names whispered with pride: Defiance, Horizon, Iron Spear, Shieldbreaker. One by one, they climbed into the sky, and with each ship the world felt stronger. The aliens did not retreat. They released more. More swarms. More shadows. The dark above Earth thickened until stars disappeared. The battle was no longer one ship against one giant. It was the survival of a world. Inside the Vanguard, the captain stood silent, watching monitors. Sweat slid down his face. He was a soldier, but this was beyond any war he knew. Still, he gave his command in a steady voice. "We do not kneel. Fire at will." The warships obeyed. Beams crossed the sky, blue against red, like lightning fighting lightning. The sound of thunder rolled across continents. The sea itself shook from falling wreckage. Alien crafts shattered, but for each one destroyed, another took its place. The giants were endless. And yet, humanity was learning. The first battles were chaos. But within minutes, patterns appeared. Pilots discovered weaknesses. Weapons found cracks. They saw the alien swarms turn slow when close to Earth's gravity. They saw how their shields flickered under combined fire. Humanity, clever and desperate, began to adapt. For the first time in history, humans were fighting as one. Nations forgot borders. Enemies forgot old wars. Every base, every satellite, every soldier focused on the same target: survival. Orders flew across languages, across continents. Humanity stood united against the night. Still, fear remained. In deep orbit, beyond the clouds of fighters, the true motherships waited. They were larger than mountains, silent and watching. They did not move. They did not fight. They only observed. It was as if the first wave was only a test. And the test was not over. As Earth's warships battled in the skies, something else stirred far beyond the moon. A shadow darker than the rest. Bigger than all the giants combined. It was not a ship. It was something more, something that carried weight even the stars seemed to fear. The first wave was only the beginning. Humanity had shown its claws. Now the invaders would decide if the prey was worth the hunt. On Earth, families watched screens, praying for survival. In space, pilots burned with courage, flying into storms of fire. And deep in the silence between stars, the true enemy finally began to move. The war for the skies was no longer just survival. It was evolution. The night sky was no longer the sky humans once loved. It was fire, smoke, and light. Warships battled above the clouds, their engines shaking the air. Cities far below felt every strike like thunder from the heavens. People prayed, cried, and cheered as humanity's weapons clashed with the unknown. But far from the chaos, deep under Earth's surface, another story was unfolding. In hidden command bunkers, leaders and scientists worked without rest. Maps of orbit glowed on giant screens, showing the swarm of alien ships. Data poured in, each second bringing news of victories and losses. One scientist leaned over a console, her voice sharp, "They are testing us. This is not their full force." Her words cut through the room. Generals fell silent. They all knew the truth, but none wanted to admit it. If this was only the beginning, what would come next? High above, the vanguard led the fight. Its armor was scarred, smoke trailing from its side, but it still stood. Pilots inside were exhausted, but their spirit burned. Each time another warship rose to join the battle, hope grew. Humanity was not falling. Humanity was rising. The aliens shifted tactics. Their swarms no longer attacked one by one. They moved like a living storm, circling warships, pressing them into traps. 3 human ships were lost in less than an hour, torn apart before they could retreat. The oceans swallowed their burning remains. The crews never had a chance. The world mourned, but the fight went on. Then came the first true victory. The Defiance locked onto an alien mothership, smaller than the largest giants but still massive compared to human craft. It poured every weapon into the target, beams striking the same scar again and again. Shields broke. The alien ship shuddered. And then, in a blinding flash, it exploded. The fireball lit the night like a second sun. The world erupted with cheers. Humanity had killed a giant. It was proof the enemy could bleed. But the victory came with a cost. The swarm turned, furious, crashing into human formations. The sky became madness. Explosions painted the clouds red and blue. Screams filled radios. No one was safe. Amid the chaos, something strange happened. A single alien craft broke away from the battle. It was smaller, faster, and it did not fire. Instead, it descended quietly, slipping past defenses. It landed in the ruins of an island city that had already been destroyed. The act was noticed. Satellites tracked it. Warships reported it. But before anyone could react, the craft was gone, vanished into the smoke of war. Rumors spread quickly. Some believed it was scouting. Others whispered it was planting something. The bravest thought it was trying to speak. But no answers came, only questions. Hours passed. Humanity fought on. The war was no longer only in the skies. Across Earth, strange machines began to appear. Alien devices, planted in ruins, pulsed with unknown energy. Soldiers on the ground tried to destroy them, but their weapons had little effect. The machines hummed, grew brighter, and then went silent, as if waiting. The scientists in the bunkers studied the signals. Their faces turned pale. The machines were not weapons. They were markers. The aliens were mapping Earth, preparing it for something greater. The order went out, find and destroy them all. Special forces moved through ruined cities, shadows among smoke, hunting the alien devices. They fought small alien patrols left behind, battles fierce and close. For the first time, humanity met the invaders face to face. And the truth was terrifying. The aliens were tall, armored like living steel, with eyes burning white. They moved with speed no human could match. Yet they were not invincible. Bullets pierced their armor when fired at the right spots. Explosives tore them apart. Humanity's soldiers learned quickly. They paid with blood, but they learned. Back in orbit, the warships pushed harder. Every battle taught them more. They were adapting. They were surviving. The invaders had expected prey. Instead, they had found predators who fought back. Still, the shadow beyond the moon remained. The larger presence had not moved. It only waited, patient, silent, watching. On Earth, whispers began. Was the shadow their leader? Was it a fleet greater than anything already seen? Or was it something even worse, something not just a ship, but a world traveling through the void? The battles continued, but a new fear had already spread. Humanity was not just fighting for the skies. Humanity was fighting against time. Because everyone knew, the true war had not yet begun. The war had lasted only days, but it felt like years. Smoke curled above oceans where ships had fallen. Cities burned. The world was scarred. Yet humanity did not surrender. Instead, the fight grew fiercer. Every hour, new pilots rose. Every hour, engineers patched warships and sent them back into the sky. The alien swarms were still strong, but they were no longer unstoppable. Human warships fought with courage, striking faster, working together. Battles that once seemed hopeless now ended with victory. For the first time, the giants hesitated. But the shadow beyond the moon did not. In deep space, it finally moved. It drifted closer, massive, silent. When the first images reached Earth, the world froze. The ship was not like the others. It was so large it blocked stars behind it. It carried strange markings that pulsed like veins of fire. It was not just a mothership. It was a fortress, a command, a king above an army. The scientists whispered a single word, flagship. The moment it arrived, the war changed. The alien swarms pulled back, gathering around the flagship like soldiers around their general. The sky cleared, leaving a strange silence. Humanity dared to hope. Was the fight ending? But then the flagship spoke. It was not words, not sound. It was a pulse, a wave of thought that pierced human minds. Across Earth, people collapsed, holding their heads, screaming in pain. Radios, screens, even satellites carried the same message, not in language, but in meaning: submit. Fear swept across nations. Some leaders demanded surrender. They argued that humanity could not fight something so powerful. But others stood firm. The warships were already in the sky. They had already killed giants. Surrender was no longer in their blood. The vanguard was chosen to lead the answer. Its captain spoke not with fear, but with defiance. His message was broadcast across every channel: "We are humanity. We do not kneel." The flagship answered with fire. From its surface, beams erupted, thicker than any weapon seen before. A single strike tore through the clouds, splitting the ocean, creating waves taller than buildings. An entire fleet of human warships was caught in the blast. Half of them vanished in seconds. Despair nearly crushed the world. But the survivors did not retreat. They formed new lines, charging forward. The battle against the flagship had begun. The fight was brutal. The flagship was stronger than anything imagined. Its shields turned aside human weapons. Its swarms returned, faster and deadlier. Every minute, more ships were lost. But humanity was clever. Inside the bunkers, scientists worked without pause. They searched every piece of data, every scan of the alien fortress. And then they found it. The flagship was powerful, but not perfect. Deep in its structure, near its core, was something different. A reactor. A heart. If that heart could be destroyed, the beast could die. The plan was dangerous. It required a ship to get close, too close, closer than survival allowed. But there was no other way. The Defiance volunteered. Its captain knew the risk. His crew knew too. But they accepted. Their names would be remembered, whether they returned or not. The Defiance cut through the swarm, weaving through fire, engines burning to their limits. Every human warship cleared the way, sacrificing themselves to open a path. The world watched breathless as the Defiance plunged into the storm of weapons. It fired with all its strength, striking the flagship again and again, drawing its attention. The alien fortress turned, pouring fire into the single brave ship. And then the Defiance reached the heart. Its weapons unleashed everything: missiles, beams, charges, slamming into the reactor shield. Sparks flew. The shield cracked. For one heartbeat, the impossible seemed possible. Humanity might break the fortress. But the flagship answered. A final beam struck the Defiance. The ship vanished in light, torn apart. The explosion lit the sky brighter than dawn. Silence followed. For a moment, all hope seemed lost. Humanity had given everything, and still the fortress stood. But deep within the fire, sensors caught something. The last strike of the Defiance had not been wasted. The shield around the reactor flickered. It was damaged. Weak. The sacrifice had not been in vain. The captains of the remaining warships raised their voices. For the Defiance. For Earth. Engines roared. Humanity charged again. The war was far from over, but now there was a chance. The world mourned the loss of the Defiance. Its name was spoken like a prayer, whispered in streets, shouted in barracks, carved into walls. The ship was gone, but its courage burned brighter than fire. People no longer asked if humanity could win. They asked how soon. But in orbit, the truth was harder. The flagship still lived. Its reactor shield was cracked, but not destroyed. Its swarms were endless, its weapons unmatched. Each battle drained humanity's strength. And every hour, more alien devices appeared on Earth, pulsing with strange energy. The scientists worked day and night. They studied the machines, scanning them, tearing them apart. At last, one team made a terrible discovery. The devices were not just markers. They were anchors. Signals connecting Earth to the flagship. The aliens were not only attacking the planet. They were trying to bind it, to pull it into something greater. "What are they building?" a general asked. The scientist answered with dread. "Not building. Transforming. They want Earth to become theirs." The news spread in secret channels. Only a few knew the full truth, but all felt the weight. Time was running out. Meanwhile, in the skies, the warships still fought. The Vanguard led strikes against swarms, buying Earth precious hours. The Iron Spear launched daring attacks, piercing alien lines before vanishing into clouds. Human fleets moved like wolves, hitting fast, retreating, hitting again. Each battle cost lives, but each battle also brought knowledge. Humanity was learning the enemy's rhythm. And then came a new surprise. In a ruined city where one of the alien devices pulsed, a human squad uncovered something shocking. A pod. Sleek, silver, glowing with faint light. Inside was not a soldier, not a machine, but a prisoner. A prisoner, who was not human. The being was tall and thin, its skin pale like stone, its eyes deep and sorrowful. It was not like the armored invaders humanity had fought. It looked weaker, fragile, almost broken. When the pod opened, it whispered in a voice that cut into minds, "Not all are your enemy." The soldiers froze. They had trained to kill, not to listen. But the being spoke again. It told them of the flagship, of the swarm, of the masters that ruled the fleet. It spoke of a war older than Earth itself. The aliens humanity faced were not explorers. They were conquerors. They had consumed countless worlds before, stripping them, bending them into tools, leaving nothing but silence. But not all who served them were loyal. Some were slaves, forced into war. The being in the pod was one of them. The squad carried it back to command. Scientists and generals argued for hours. Could it be trusted? Was it a trap? Yet the being revealed secrets only the enemy could know, weaknesses in the swarm's patterns, flaws in their technology. It showed them how to strike deeper, how to wound harder. Most of all, it revealed the truth of the flagship's reactor. The Defiance had not died in vain. The shield was broken more than the enemy realized. If humanity could deliver a final strike, the fortress could fall. But there was a price. To reach the reactor, a ship would need to dive inside the flagship itself, through corridors of metal and fire, past defenses designed to kill anything that entered. It was not a battle. It was a suicide path. The room fell silent. No one wanted to give the order. No one wanted to choose who would die. Then the captain of the vanguard spoke. His voice was steady, though his eyes carried the weight of every loss. If we do nothing, Earth dies. If we act, at least we have a chance. The vanguard will lead. No one argued. Preparations began. Engineers loaded the warship with everything it could carry. Missiles, charges, cannons, fuel. Pilots checked systems with silent faces. Soldiers climbed aboard, each knowing they might never return. The world watched, knowing their fate rested on one ship. On the ground, people lit fires in the night, candles in windows, lights in the dark. It was their way of saying goodbye, their way of giving strength. The vanguard rose slowly from the ocean once more. Its engines glowed like suns. The world held its breath. The flagship waited in the void, its shadow larger than mountains, its swarms circling like vultures. The battle ahead would decide everything. As the vanguard turned its nose toward the fortress, the alien prisoner whispered one last warning. Even if you break the heart, beware. The masters have more than one. The captain nodded. He did not fear warnings. Humanity had already stepped into the storm. Now there was no turning back. The war for Earth was reaching its final chapter. The vanguard rose into the black sky, alone but not forgotten. Across the world, millions watched, hearts bound to a single ship. Some whispered prayers. Some shouted cheers. Some simply stared in silence, knowing history was being written above their heads. The alien flagship loomed like a mountain in the void. Its hull glowed with streams of red light, veins pulsing with power. The swarms circled it, endless shadows waiting for the kill. Humanity's other warships formed a wall, their mission clear: protect the vanguard at any cost. The first clash came fast. Alien fighters dove, firing beams like falling stars. Human ships roared back, missiles streaking across the dark. The void became a storm of fire. Explosions lit space in bursts of red and blue. For every alien destroyed, another took its place. But the human fleet held. They had one purpose: to clear a path. Inside the vanguard, the crew sat in silence. They knew this mission was more than war. It was sacrifice. Every hand moved with precision, every voice calm, but each heart beat heavy. The captain's eyes never left the flagship. His voice came steady through the comms. Stay sharp. Stay true. For Earth. The vanguard dove into the storm. Enemy ships closed in, but allies cut them down. The iron spear rammed a swarm, tearing through dozens before exploding in a blinding flash. The horizon took a hit to its engines but kept firing, opening space for the vanguard to push forward. The fleet was bleeding, but it was not breaking. Then the flagship noticed. Its weapons turned, glowing with fury. A single beam shot out, slicing through the dark. It struck the shield breaker, splitting the warship in two. The crew had no time to scream. Pieces drifted in silence, swallowed by fire. The vanguard did not slow. Its engines roared, tearing through debris, dodging blasts that could end worlds. And then, at last, it reached the fortress. The hull of the flagship rose before them, endless and black, carved with symbols no human could read. Ports opened, cannons firing. The vanguard shook as shots tore into its armor. Sparks flew across its decks. Alarms screamed. But the ship pressed on. "We're at the entry point," shouted the pilot. "Do it," the captain ordered. The Vanguard unleashed its weapons. Missiles slammed into the flagship's surface, tearing a hole in the fortress's armor. Fire and smoke erupted into the void. Without hesitation, the ship dove inside. Darkness swallowed them. The interior of the flagship was like nothing human eyes had seen. Vast tunnels stretched in every direction, glowing with red veins of energy. Machines crawled along the walls, twisting like insects. Alien symbols pulsed on panels, alive with light. The ship was not just a machine. It was alive. The crew fired at anything that moved. Explosions shook the tunnels. Alien defenses activated, turrets pouring fire. The Vanguard twisted through corridors, engines screaming, weapons blazing. Each turn brought new dangers, each breath a fight for survival. Finally, they reached the core chamber. The reactor glowed in the distance, a sphere of burning light surrounded by shields. Energy crackled around it, waves of power shaking the air. It was the heart of the beast, the pulse of the fortress. And it was waiting. Alien guardians appeared, ships smaller but faster, swarming the chamber like hornets. They dived at the Vanguard, tearing into its hull. The ship shook, alarms shrieking. Fires burned in the lower decks. But the captain stood firm. Target the core. Ignore the rest. The Vanguard unleashed everything. Cannons roared, missiles streaked, beams of blue light slammed into the reactor's shield. Sparks erupted. Cracks spread. The shield trembled. But the Guardians fought back. One by one, systems on the Vanguard failed. Engines sputtered. Weapons dimmed. The ship groaned, steel bending under fire. Crew members screamed over comms, reporting damage, reporting losses. Still, they fought. The captain's voice came again, steady even as the ship burned. "This is our chance. We end it here." The reactor shield shattered. Light poured across the chamber, blinding, furious. The reactor pulsed naked, exposed. Humanity's hope burned brighter than ever. But the price was clear. The Vanguard could not escape. The captain gave his final order. "Overload the core. Use us as the blade." The crew obeyed. Systems rerouted, energy redirected. The Vanguard became a weapon. Its own reactor screamed, feeding into one final strike. Outside, the human fleet saw the fortress glowing. They knew what was coming. Silence filled their comms, broken only by a single voice, for the Vanguard. The ship dived, straight into the alien heart. And then, light. A blast tore through the flagship, ripping it apart from within. The fortress shuddered, cracks spreading like fire across its body. The explosion lit the void brighter than any sun. Alien swarms froze, their signals broken, their master burning. The Vanguard was gone. But Earth was still alive. The flagship was falling. The light of the explosion faded slowly, like dawn breaking across the void. The alien flagship, once a fortress too large to imagine, was now broken. Its massive body split into pieces, fire spilling across the stars. The swarm ships around it lost their order, spinning aimlessly, crashing into each other, falling like burning stones into Earth's skies. For the first time, silence filled the battlefield. No more beams cut across the dark. No more engines roared. The war, at least for this moment, was over. On Earth, people poured into streets. They cried, they screamed, they hugged strangers. Screens showed the burning remains of the fortress, and across the world, voices rose together. "Vanguard! Vanguard! Vanguard!" The ship was gone, but its name would never be forgotten. Humanity had survived because of it. Humanity had stood when surrender seemed the only choice. But victory was not clean. The oceans were littered with wreckage. Dozens of human warships were lost. Cities still burned. Families still mourned. The price of survival was written in blood. And deep in bunkers, leaders whispered the same question: Was it truly finished? The captured alien, the one who had warned them, watched the skies from its chamber. Its pale eyes glowed with sorrow. "You have cut one chain," it whispered, "but others remain." Scientists pressed for answers. What did it mean? Was the flagship not the end? The being's words chilled them all. The masters do not send one fortress. They send many. You have shown strength. Now, they will see you not as prey, but as a challenge. The world fell quiet. Humanity had fought so hard, sacrificed so much, only to learn the war was larger than they imagined. The enemy was not finished. The enemy was endless. Yet even in fear, there was fire. The surviving captains gathered, their ships scarred but still alive. The iron spear limped into formation, its hull torn. The horizon floated with smoke trailing behind. And around them, fragments of ships destroyed in the fight drifted silently, reminders of courage. The captain of the horizon sent a message across every channel. His voice was tired, broken, but proud. They thought Earth was weak. They thought we would bow. But tonight, the stars know our answer. We fight. We endure. And we rise. His words spread across the world. Soldiers raised their rifles. Children repeated them in the streets. Humanity, scarred and battered, stood taller than ever before. Still, preparations began. Engineers worked on new ships, stronger and faster than the first fleet. Scientists studied alien wreckage, tearing apart every secret. Leaders met in silence, knowing Earth could no longer live in ignorance. Humanity would not wait for the next attack. Humanity would go to the stars. Above the ruined battlefield, the debris of the alien fortress drifted. From one broken piece, a faint signal pulsed. The captured alien, listening in silence, closed its eyes. They are already coming. No one heard its whisper. On Earth, fires were slowly being put out. Families buried their dead. Children played in the rubble, pretending to be warship captains, shouting as they fought invisible foes. Life had not ended. It had changed. The sky was no longer just a place of dreams. It was a battlefield, a warning, and a promise. And though humanity knew the war was not finished, they also knew something greater. They were no longer prey. They had stood against giants. They had torn down a fortress. They had proven that even in the vast silence of space, humanity's voice could roar louder than fear. The stars were watching. The masters were coming. But Earth was ready. The war for the skies was over. The war for the stars was about to begin.